World title in everyone's imagination. That's the heavyweight champ. You were here. Everyone else was here. But since then, the feeling has been Joshua makes all this money fighting anyway, 30 million pounds, whatever it is. Why should he take 40 or 50 to fight Wilder when he's making against anybody? He can make 30, 40 million pounds, whatever it is.
No fantasy contracts, just reality. You know, bringing our worth to the table and bargaining and negotiating what we're worth and making this fight happen.
Which mentality do you come in with? I ask because when you were slick, to me that looked like a better fighter. But maybe this is the kind of fight where you just need to impose your strength.
Anthony Joshua's composed confidence became the focus when he sat down with Max Kellerman ahead of his highly anticipated showdown with Jake Paul, a matchup that has energized both hardcore boxing fans and the broader crossover audience. During the interview, Joshua didn't just discuss game plans. He opened up about pressure, expectations, and spectacle wrapped around such an unexpected fight. As Kellerman pressed a deeper perspective, Joshua tackled the criticisms, the magnitude of the event, and the real reasons he agreed to face one of the sport's most controversial modern figures.
World or a heavyweight champion, you're an undefeated Olympic super heavyweight gold medalist, you're entering your physical prime, and you put 100,000 people in Wembley. So I get your argument. I have the economic clout. He's not coming in as partners. I should get a bigger slice of the pie. Let's have a realistic negotiation.
Kellerman, famous for mixing sharp technical analysis with his trademark dramatic edge, quickly shifted the discussion to the larger storyline surrounding the fight. He stated outright that, no matter how you look at it, this is one of the most bizarre heavyweight matchups in recent memory. Joshua is an ex-world champion. Jake Paul is a social media celebrity-turned fighter. So what brings these two together? It's the question fans around the world have been asking since the fight was announced. Joshua's answer set the tone for everything that followed.
Beat a guy like that, you're not going to outbox him. If you're waiting on him and he's initiating and he's feinting you into counters and then he's countering.
When Max Kellerman pressed him on what he genuinely respects about Jake Paul, Anthony Joshua offered a measured but meaningful answer. He said that above everything else, Paul is bringing a new wave of attention to boxing. Despite coming from social media rather than a traditional amateur system, Joshua noted that Paul consistently throws himself into deep waters, willingly taking on huge challenges most newcomers would never consider. Joshua added that Paul's enthusiasm, pressure-filled approach, and willingness to test himself at a high level ultimately benefit the sport, helping expose boxing to wider audiences who might not have paid attention before.
Hitting Jake Paul, does he remind you of any guy that you fought before? Or is this a unique situation that you've never come across?
Very unique situation I've never come across, but treat him with the same respect that I give all my competition.
So you got the mental fortitude, he's got the mental fortitude. But what's the one best thing that you pride Jake Paul of having that maybe you haven't seen in other competition you faced so far?
From a physical aspect, I couldn't even mention it at the minute. But from a mental aspect, he offered me to fight. Normally I'm offering people fights. He's told me, come and fight. So he believes in himself.
What does the word legacy mean to you, AJ?
Legacy, what does it mean? This is why I was actually asking someone, what does legacy mean? I don't even know.
The size gap between the two fighters has quickly become one of the biggest focal points leading into the bout, and for good reason. Jake Paul has always carried solid strength in his usual weight classes, but when he stands next to Anthony Joshua, the contrast becomes almost surreal. It truly resembles a modern David versus Goliath image. Joshua doesn't just edge Paul in height, he looms over him, built from years of training, sparring, and competing against full-size heavyweight monsters. And even though Paul has packed on muscle and moved up in weight, the difference in natural size, frame, and presence is undeniable. When the two face off, the visual alone reminds everyone of the massive challenge Paul is stepping into.
Jake Paul versus AJ, as though Jake Paul is the bigger in this equation. Not for me. Maybe for MVP, Nikisa, Jake Paul, but not for me. I've kind of marked it or titled it David versus Goliath just because of the size difference. Like, Jake Paul's a big guy. He is. He's 6'1", 220, probably fights around, the 200-pound mark. AJ is an enormous guy. Like, he's a big unit. And I think Jake realized that when they came face to face. I don't know if that was the first time they've ever come that close. I'm sure they've met behind the scenes, but I think there was a realization from Jake Paul, like, fuck, this is a big dude. It's a very, very big dude who isn't coming to play. Like, there was no play with AJ. That was a press conference that almost sounded like AJ versus someone in the top 10, where AJ's taking it seriously. He's answering the questions direct that Ariel's throwing him. There was no, yeah, we're here to kind of fuck around. It's gonna be easy. Give me my money. Let me run back to the UK. This was AJ's like, no, we're taking this seriously. And that ain't a good thing for Jake Paul. It isn't. And AJ's that guy anyway. Like, I would never doubt that AJ would take this seriously. But for Jake Paul, I do wonder if realization is kicking in, or maybe he is just that delusional where he doesn't care. I do, and I've been sort of corrected by a few people who maybe know better, but I do think the Americans don't credit or rate AJ. I do think there's a bit of that. I remember when AJ did the rounds prior to the Ruiz fight, and there were a few people like, yeah, you're not that good. This was prior.
Nikisa Badarian, the CEO of Most Valuable Promotions, the company backing Jake Paul, explained to Sky Sports that the December 19 showdown with Anthony Joshua is being treated as a massive, globally marketed event. Badarian acknowledged the obvious. Joshua brings far more experience, pedigree, and heavyweight credibility. Yet, he also pointed out that Paul's almost delusional level of confidence might be the wildcard factor that makes this matchup far less predictable than it appears on paper. Badarian also revealed that the fight came together much sooner than originally intended. The initial plan was to stage Joshua versus Paul sometime in 2026, but Paul pushed aggressively to speed up the timeline. As a result, negotiations were fast-tracked to lock in the fight this year, turning a long-term idea into an immediate blockbuster.
Will there be a limit for Joshua?
So there's a lot of discussion around the weight. Joshua fought Usyk twice. Both of those times, Usyk was 221 pounds. Joshua was 240 to 245. When Jake fought Mike Tyson last year, 227 pounds. I expect Jake will come in anywhere between 225 and 230, and Anthony Joshua has a weight limit of 245 pounds.
There will be those, as you're aware, that will look at it and criticise this fight. There already have been, haven't there? They'll say it's a real mismatch. What would you say to them? Are we going to be watching sport at its purest?
I would say it's much less of a mismatch than what you saw with AJ and Francis Ngannou, who a massive man, but relatively no boxing experience. I would say it's much less of a mismatch than AJ's 9th or 10th fight against guys who've been knocked out 20 to 25 times. Given AJ's pedigree, Jake is built for this. Jake is built for the big moments. So do I think it's dangerous for Jake Paul? Absolutely. Do I think it's also dangerous for Anthony Joshua?
Alexander Usyk hasn't held back when giving his take on the Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul matchup. In his view, the fight is completely lopsided. Usyk compared Joshua to a Rolls-Royce and Paul to a basic Fiat, his way of saying the two fighters aren't even in the same category. According to Usyk, the difference goes far beyond popularity. It's about skill, experience, conditioning, and years spent competing at the elite level. He believes Paul is stepping into extremely dangerous territory by facing someone with Joshua's pedigree, and that the physical and technical gap between them makes the matchup overwhelmingly one-sided.
Anthony Joshua is Olympic champion. Yeah. First. Jake Paul is, sportsman, YouTuber, showman. Rolls Royce, Fiat. Listen, it's true. I'm not.
Oh my god. I have nothing better in mind.
Yeah. It's just true. It's business, more money. Only this.
So we need to pray for Jake Paul.
Yes. I will pray Jake Paul because I want to fight with Jake Paul in octagon.
Yeah. Do you think that Joshua should be fighting Tyson Fury next year?
I want this fight. Yeah, I fan.
Former Olympic boxer Tony Jeffries offered a different perspective on why Jake Paul shouldn't be written off so easily. He pointed out that Paul has access to virtually every tool a top-level fighter could need: elite coaches, high-end strength and conditioning teams, sports psychologists, expert nutritionists, and top-tier sparring partners. With the financial ability to build a flawless training camp, Jeffries argued, Jake isn't cutting corners, he's investing in the best version of himself. Jeffries also emphasized that Paul understands the magnitude of this matchup. Knowing this is the toughest test of his career, Jake is expected to push harder than ever in preparation. Another point Jeffries highlighted was age. In boxing, youth can be one of the biggest advantages. Younger athletes recover faster, train longer, and enter fights with more explosive energy. Paul, being a younger man, could capitalize on this edge while Joshua, now deeper into his career, may have to manage wear, tear, and recovery differently.
Peel of the tape. Now looking at the age difference, we've got 28 years old compared to 36 years old. So I guess the advantage there goes a little bit towards Jake Paul. 28-year-old is better than a 36-year-old. But that being said, we've got talking about experience and everything else. What comes with being 36 years old at Anthony Joshua's level. And then like I mentioned, the heavyweights kind of seem to prime a little bit older. Now come down to the height and the weight. This is the big one. 6'1" versus 6'6". 200 pounds versus 252 pounds. We got a 252-pounder in Anthony Joshua. The reach advantage is a lot, which we would expect. Amateur fights, we can see that Jake's only had one, where AJ's had 43, but 43 of them are including at the highest level, Olympic level. And yes, he won the Olympics bloody gold medal, if I don't need to remind you. Then the pro record, Jake Paul has had 13 fights, lost 1. AJ has had 28 fights and he's lost 4 to 25 KOs. And the one person that Jake Paul lost to was Tommy Fury. Now, can we compare Tommy Fury with Anthony Joshua? Not at all. It's like night and day. So now I'm going to talk about the rules of this fight, and I'll give you my prediction, which is going to shock a lot of people after this. So, what are the rules? The bout will take place at a heavyweight, obviously. It's going to be 8 3-minute rounds. You might think, well, that's better for Jake Paul, and I'm thinking, not really, it's better for Anthony Joshua because he's just going to go all out for them 8 3-minute rounds. And imagine that, Anthony Joshua blasting at you, 6'6", whatever he is, 250 pounds, throwing big bombs at you. Anyway, both fighters will be using 10-ounce gloves for the duration of the contest. Why have they got that? It says both fighters will be wearing 10-ounce gloves for the duration of the contest. What do you expect? Them to take them off halfway through and switch them to 12s? But I guess these days, anything happens in boxing, right? The boys will follow similar rules to Jake Paul and Mike Tyson in November, but that fight was 8 2-minute rounds and 14-ounce gloves. Not similar if it's smaller gloves and 2-minute rounds. Who wrote this for the zone? It marks the first time Joshua will have contested less than 10 rounds since.
Veteran heavyweight Derek Chisora has slammed the idea of Jake Paul being granted a WBC ranking, calling it an outright insult to the sport. Chisora argued that true professionals spend years grinding through tough fights to earn their positions, while Jake Paul, who has only faced non-rank opponents or fighters past their prime, will be elevated purely because of celebrity status. He accused WBC President Mauricio Suleiman of sacrificing integrity for profit, saying the move would disgrace the sport and undermine fighters who put their bodies on the line to climb the ladder. Chisora stressed that rankings must be earned through real competition, not handed out for marketing value. At the same time, a number of analysts have thrown support behind Paul, insisting that Anthony Joshua's durability has diminished and that his chin isn't the same after recent knockout defeats. However, some experts push back on that narrative, noting that losing to a fellow heavyweight like Daniel doesn't automatically translate to vulnerability against Jake Paul. They argue that Joshua still possesses elite-level skill, tremendous power, and extensive top-tier experience. According to these analysts, the talk of Joshua's downfall is overblown, and if he approaches a fight with discipline and focus, he remains fully capable of dominating the matchup.
WBC have said they're going to give a cruiserweight ranking to the winner of this fight. Do you think they deserve one?
I don't think so. I don't know why. It's hard enough for real athletes, for real boxers, to gain those rankings, and then suddenly this Solomon Sousa decides to give double ranking because he's getting some greens in his, in his back pocket. No, that is disgrace.
Anthony Yard offered a much more forceful take on the situation. He cautioned Joshua not to overlook Jake Paul and insisted that Joshua must approach the fight with full seriousness. Yard believes Paul has a real talent for generating hype and global attention, which can sometimes throw seasoned fighters off their game. According to him, Jake knows exactly how to turn a matchup into a worldwide spectacle, and that can lull an opponent into feeling too relaxed. Yard warned that if Joshua walks in too comfortable or unfocused, Paul might capitalize on that moment and catch him by surprise.
AJ's laughing. Against Jake Paul, come on. If it's not, you know there's all these people say, oh, it's all fixed and all these things like that. If that's not true, AJ just go up there and punch him up, you know. But if some funny stuff happens and Jake Paul starts doing the rope-a-dope, something must be going on. But yeah, I don't think this fight's crazy. I think it's, but Jake Paul's a master at getting eyes. You know, he's been like that. He's very smart. No one cares if he loses. He's meant to lose, and they both make so much.
Former UFC contender turned boxer Darren Till voiced strong support for Jake Paul amid discussions of potential fight against Anthony Joshua. Till criticized Saudi promoter Turki Al-Sheikh, calling his involvement hypocritical and dismissing him outright. He emphasized that Paul enters a fight with nothing to lose, highlighting Joshua's mental vulnerability under pressure. Till remarked that Joshua is not the strongest mentally, while Paul's mental toughness could provide him a key advantage if the bout materializes.
That's Jake Paul. Anthony Joshua, as much as he's a monster, he's got a weak mind, hasn't he? So Jake could end up getting into it because Jake's got everyone eating out the palm of his hand. He's a very clever man. So
you really think he's got a chance?
Why wouldn't he have a chance? Look how confident he is. Mate, come on. Like, Anthony would have all the pressure in the world, and if Anthony didn't do him with the first few punches, he'd start doubting himself in his head, because that's what he does. But no, Anthony should win, shouldn't he? But
what do you make of Tyson Fury saying that he's going to put $1 million bet on Jake winning by knockout?
Tyson to leg it, lad. He's retired about 50 times. What's he on about, mate? Just tell him to leg it, and I love him. If he walked in here, I'd obviously...
At one point, you were good friends.
I'm still good friends, but obviously if he walked in here, I'd act like I'm not talking about him, but then on the camera I'm talking to him. Is this not what we're on? Is everyone not fake, or no? We all... What are we on here? Are we all acting like we don't hate each other? Like, come on. Like, what?
You're on absolute smoke today.
Tyson.
Former three-weight world champion and ITV boxing commentator Duke McKenzie expressed strong criticism of the proposed Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul fight, particularly in the context of crossover matchups. McKenzie condemned the rising trend of YouTubers and MMA fighters stepping into boxing, calling it misguided. Referencing Joshua's bout with ex-UFC champion Francis Ngannou, he warned the fight could have ended in tragedy, asserting that MMA fighters should not compete against elite boxers. McKenzie stressed that athletes should stick to their own disciplines to maintain safety and preserve the integrity of the sport.